have some water, and let's just process our resentment feelings. So let's ask questions in the I so we can acknowledge them in the present moment. How am I feeling? How are you feeling? Just express I am feeling. Pause the video if you need more time. When we feel resentment, there's likely there are other emotions that either we identify with ease, or we might have a little difficulty to tap into other more vulnerable emotions. Sometimes we can identify with anger when we're feeling resentful. And we might dismiss other vulnerable emotions such as disappointment, sadness, hurt, confusion, concern. It is a very heavy load to feel in one given moment. So let's see if we can identify, close the eyes, and allow the answers to come. Am I feeling angry in this moment? Am I feeling frustration in this moment? Am I feeling disappointed? Sad? Hurt? Concerned? Worried? Just allow the answers to come. What are my thoughts in this moment? Pause the video if you need more time. Have a little sip of water. And see if there's a way that you can just adjust your body, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, or at least to provide some balance. So if you've been sitting in one side, just adjust to the other side. And if you've been sitting on your cheekbones for too long, just lift them off to allow the circulation to flow with a bit more ease. Where do I feel my emotions in this moment? How do I feel my body in this moment? Start with the toes. Just notice without judging or criticizing. Just notice if there's any tension, unease, pain, hurt. Start with the toes and notice. The legs, the knees. The hips. The buttocks and bottom. The stomach area, the lower stomach, intestine, stomach, belly area. Just notice. Lower back, mid back, upper back. How does it feel? Is there any aches, pains? What about the breast area, the chest area? Afraid? Just notice any sensations without judging and criticizing. Notice the shoulders, the shoulder blades, elbows, arms, wrists. How's my fists and hands? Are they relaxed, tensed in a fist? What about the neck, the throat, the jaw, the lips, the teeth? The ears, the earring, the eyes, the forehead. So we relaxed. We just scan the body to notice if there's any pain, hurts, tension. And we're going to see if we can go back to the areas that may need a little shaking, or a little jiggle, adjusting, just to ease off. See if you can make it a little bit more relaxed, more comfortable. Just bring to the body what the body needs in this moment. Notice the breath. Without judging and criticizing, simply notice. Exhale. Take a slow breath in and a slower breath out. Breathe in and slowly exhale. Breathe in and slowly exhale. Have a little sip of water. When we're dealing with resentment, we're also dealing with a hurt, and likely to be awakening a hurt, a big hurt. And some of the hurts might be connected with our core beliefs, what we think about ourselves, about what we deserve, what we think, how we should be treated. And also some stuff from the past. and often can be an accumulation of different past incidents where we've been treated similarly. So we might have created an expectation. Now that expectation might be in place as a way of protecting ourselves. And we might have that expectation that was created a long time ago. And we don't question if that expectation is realistic, unrealistic. We might just think that is the right way, because that's the only way we know. And I'm not saying that it's not a good expectation. That sometimes we could create an expectation where we place in the hands of others what we want within us with an absolute certainty. And while we can prefer, we don't have control over what others think, do, say. That we might be able to influence. So let's look at our expectations. What am I expecting out of this situation? What are my expectations? What has just been broken? What rule has been broken? In this moment, I'm feeling resentful because I was expecting this person to behave, say this, not do this. Or in this moment, what has been broken? Just notice the answer. Without judging and criticizing. Have a sip of water. Exhale. Take a slow deep breath in. And a slower breath out. Adjust. Now we might expect someone to respect us, and that is a good expectation, to be respected, to feel respect. However, you might also have the expectation to be respected at all times. And while that is a good expectation, it fails to take into account that sometimes we don't have control over other people. And sometimes the people we're interacting with, they are struggling to manage their emotions. So it has more to do with them than it has to do with us. And while we can communicate how we'd like to be treated with respect, for instance, we can also communicate if I am not treated with respect, or if you speak to me in this and then list exactly the manner that we don't tolerate. For instance, if you shout at me, I will leave the conversation. If you threaten me, I will walk away. If you hit me, I will call the police. If you destroy my things, I will call the police, or there will be a consequence. No. We don't have control over how someone else behaves, reacts, They might not have the capacity because of their age, emotional intelligence. They never learned the skill. They might have too much momentum going on, and that's on them. But we can choose to communicate how we'd like to be treated and what we're going to do if that doesn't happen. For instance, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to call someone. No. Expecting that someone behaves in a certain way all of the time. Is this expectation realistic? Is it realistic for that person? Knowing what they know, what they struggle with, what they have learned, the resources they have. Is this expectation realistic for them? It's not trying to minimize. It's not trying to invalidate. But it's just to bring some awareness that sometimes things are more about the other person than it is about us. And it doesn't mean we're going to accept it and tolerate it. We're just going to respond in a different way. Do I want to respond with aggression? Is this solving the problem? Or do I need to recognize that the person doesn't have the ability to manage their thoughts, emotions in a different way? They're doing what they know in this moment, what they can in this moment. But I don't have to tolerate it. I have a choice in how I'm going to respond. I have a choice in how I'm going to behave physically. I have a choice of removing myself from the situation. And if I physically can't remove myself from the situation in this moment, I can just connect with peace in my thoughts. And I can remind myself I am responsible for my reaction. And just focus on the responding constructively rather than destructively. Because, for instance, if there's a disrespect, we might find ourselves reacting, either by shouting, telling off, react in a similar way, aggressive way, reacting defensively, or even reacting aggressively by imposing consequences in a very aggressive manner. So literally fighting fire with fire. Here's the thing, at the minimum level, it might not cause much distraction, but if the momentum builds, we could find ourselves in a situation where the moment that is evoking a reaction and defensive from us is getting also the worst out of us, which then might evoke another problem to solve, consequences for our behavior, which could be legally, morally, and even internally could trigger shame, because we might find ourselves behaving in a way that we don't want, that we're not proud. So it's recognizing, how do I want to respond? I might want to react with aggression, defensiveness, and even have a punitive mind. And however, is this going to solve the problem? Or is it going to create more problems? Is this the person that I want to be and the behaviors I want to engage in? And we could even acknowledge the confusion. Don't know how to respond and how to deal with it. So we can leave it in the hands of a higher power universe, God, the angels. Please guide me through this, because I don't know how to react, how to respond to this in a constructive manner, because I am so angry. And I identified, am I angry just from this one instance, or is this evoking something, a pain from the past, For instance, in the past where I've been disrespected, hurt, treated unfairly, mistreated, or even could be a hurt that comes from rejection. Is this evoking a pain from the past where I was rejected, I felt excluded and hurt, where someone did not treat me with respect and took into my account my needs and considerations. So, is this feeling, is this big feeling just a reaction to this one instance? Or because there's been an accumulation of similar incidents with the same person? Or even is reminding me of a time in the past where I was treated similarly? So it's awakening that big hurt and pain. Just allow the answers to come to mind. Make space for the feelings. Can you bring the hands to the heart, the hand to the belly? We can exhale our hurts out. And we're going to take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. We can allow compassion, love and healing to travel through our bodies and mind and spirit, and to heal this hurt, this pain from past and present. Take a slow breath in and a slower breath out. Breathe in, breathe out. Have a little sip and adjust. Now we might have behaved in ways that we're not so proud of. And you might even have intrusive thoughts that are alarming, that might concern us, might have so much anger that we want perhaps to destroy something, or punch someone, or hurt someone, out of that intensity, or wanting to retaliate. Okay? Just acknowledge that we are humans, and all humans are capable in certain circumstances of tapping into destructive behaviors, destructive to self and others. And we're going to connect with that awareness and the sadness that comes with it. And we're going to forgive ourselves for not being perfect. Exhale. Inhale slowly. And exhale slowly and deeply. I forgive myself for not being perfect. I accept myself with my good and negative qualities. I make peace with myself as a whole, with the good and the bad. I like myself. I love myself. I appreciate myself. I notice my reactions without judging, criticizing, and any resistance with compassion. Allow healing and love. Breathe in. And a slow breath out. Love and healing and compassion. Breathe in. And slowly out. I'm going to ask for forgiveness to myself, to the universe. Forgiveness for me. Please forgive me that I did not behave in my preferred ways, in my highest ways. Please forgive me. I love me. I accept me. I appreciate me. Thank you for your forgiveness. Thank you for my forgiveness to me. I thank myself for forgiving myself. Now, if you feel that we have a responsibility to a higher power, to a God, to the angels, to the universe, because we might put this pressure that we want to behave in the best possible ways, we can even ask forgiveness to that higher power. Please forgive me. Please guide me. I love you and appreciate you. Thank you. Have a little sip of water. And adjust. Now, when we expect others to behave in a certain way, you might have this expectation. Now, trying to forgive them is a little harder. I guess we might be holding into that as a way to protect ourselves so that we can stand up, so that they don't do it again, so that they'd remember that they hurt us. However, we can even be using either overtly a way of communicating like aggression, or a more covert and a more indirect. We can withdraw, sulk, cut contact, or distance ourselves as a way of not dealing with a person. So in a more passive aggressive, where we might maybe pick on something indirectly, but we're not communicating directly. I am upset and I was expecting you not to do this or to do this. Instead of communicating, we might ignore the person, make plans without the person, find a way of punishing the person by not being considerate, by ignoring, not getting in touch. Or if the person does something that is bad, we might be heavily and criticize more because we are indirectly trying to punish. We might find a fault in themselves or someone else that they're related to or they're responsible for as a way of punishing indirectly. We might be conscious or we might not be conscious at all. So, am I able to forgive the other person? And why not? Notice the answers. Now let's see if we can try to think of some possible reasons why the other person might have behaved. We don't know. It's just possibilities. It's not facts. If we want facts, we can ask that sometimes people deny this thought for different reasons. Because they might be afraid of the consequences, because they might have a kind of person that they want to hold to, so they will deny. Because they don't want to be seen as mean, horrible, bad person, even though we're globalizing the person. They might be not wanting to deal with the consequences, or they might regret and might not want to do it again, but they don't want to admit. So, when we ask someone why they have done this, it gives a stronger chance of hearing their point of view, and sometimes it's true. And then we might recognize that perhaps our assumptions were incorrect, or some information was missing, or there was something else that we're not considering. And sometimes we don't know, and sometimes we're not able to for different reasons, or we can't, or we don't want to ask. But we can generate possible explanations in our mind. What are the reasons, other than just me, other than assuming intent, harmful intent? What are the reasons? What are the possible explanations? Is the person having too much, going through too much? Is the person unable to deal with their stuff in this moment? Is the person struggling with their mental health in this moment? And we're not negating, minimizing, just trying to see the humanity in them. Walking in their shoes. If I was in their shoes, having and doing what they're doing, would I react similarly? If I had their life experience, their age, their coping skills, and I had to do and feel the way they feel, would I react similarly? Just notice the answers. We're not excusing, we're just trying to see the humanity in them. And if we don't know, if the answer is I don't know, then I don't know is also an answer and a possibility. Have a sip of water. Let's allow forgiveness to be extended to the humanity in them. I forgive you as a person. I forgive you for not being perfect. I forgive you for not behaving in the ways that I want you to behave at all times. Because I can see the humanity in you. And humans are not perfect. Now we might have a little resistance when we say this, because we might think if we forgive, they will do the same thing. Well, let's recognize that we can learn to be assertive. We can learn to communicate, I'm not okay with this behavior. Please don't do it in future. Or if you do it in future, this is what I'm going to do. And then enforcing that behavior. Or see if there's a way that we can find a compromise. And checking, is this expectation realistic? And even, am I demanding a certain behavior? Is this realistic? Can I find a way that I can maybe modify that expectation so it is more realistic? And instead of demanding and expecting, could I express a preference? I prefer that you behave in this way. Now, there are certain things that is a clear no, and we should not tolerate abuse physically, verbally, emotionally. That is a no. And we need to find ways to increase our safety, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And there are ways that we might be able to adjust, to be flexible, to recognize if it's realistic or not, and work on that, on ourselves. And also give space for the other person to learn new behaviors while still protecting ourselves. We might be understanding that someone might be struggling with their mental illness or a specific behavior, and they are learning to cope with that or learning to manage their behavior. But we don't need to tolerate the abuse. While I understand that you can get angry, I will not tolerate that anger on me. And when you are angry, I will distance myself. And you can come into my personal space when you are calmer and can speak to me respectfully. And we can just acknowledge both. I understand that this is a struggle to you, and I deserve to be respected. And when you're not behaving respectfully, I will choose these behaviors and communicate. And sometimes we need to bring ourselves into acceptance. For instance, if someone rejected us or ignored us or made choices that automatically resulted in us feeling excluded, we could ask, is this feelings based on facts? Is there a possibility of miscommunication? Can we clarify? And even, do we need to accept a certain reality? For instance, we might have thought that someone was on a certain position that would respond in a certain way, and we might have to accept that that's not the case, and we'll feel sad and disappointed because our resentment is highlighting that something is important. What is important here? Is it important that I am respected? Is it important that I am included? Is it important that I am taken into consideration? Is it important that I am cared for? What is it that is important right now? Sometimes it's not the behavior, but it's behind behavior. What does this behavior, when the person behaves in this way, what does that mean about me? What does it mean about our relationship? Does it mean that I don't feel cared for? Does it mean that I'm not loved? What does it mean about me? Just allow the answers to come. Does it mean that I can't trust? And I need to trust in order to be in the relationship? What is it at stake? What is important? And how would I like to have this behavior with this person? We might find ourselves recognizing that in this relationship I would like to be treated with respect. Far more for my health, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and for the physical, mental, and emotional state of the other person. And we can communicate. Your relationship is important to me, and I hope that my relationship is important to you. And in our relationship, I like us to communicate in a respectful manner. I have some water. And just notice the breath. Just exhale. Take a full breath in and a slow breath out. Sometimes we might feel, pardon me, resentful that someone did not engage in a behavior that we are expecting, but the person might not know. For instance, does the person know that we expect that behavior? If we communicate that to them, we assume that others will know because we know, so they should know. They should be able to guess and read our minds. But we are forgetting that we are different. We have different life experiences, different ways of seeing the world, different priorities, see things differently. What we might see as the most important for them might be important, but not the most important. So if it's something that keeps on reoccurring, why not have the conversation and communicate? I notice these behaviors, and when you behave in these ways, I feel this way. Is there a reason why you behave in these ways? And sometimes we might find ourselves that the reasons has nothing to do with us. I might even communicate, I would prefer if things were two-way, or that you engage in this or did not engage with this. And sometimes we need to accept. Sometimes a person might have, and we might have, a preference that we can communicate, and the person might not be able to come on board because they have different priorities and different ways of viewing the world and seeing things differently. And we might have to accept that difference of living and being and expecting, and then find compromises and ways of adjusting. So, is there a way that I can ask, have the courage to ask, to communicate in a polite, respectful way? Can I have the courage, instead of just brooding on resentment, to just say, I'm feeling resentful and hurt and sad and concerned because of your behavior when you behave this way, and I'd like you to behave in this way. Could you explain to me why you did it? Can you come on board with my request? Is that realistic? And if not, just hear the person out. And then sometimes we might not be able to find a solution straight away, but then with time we might be able to come up with a compromise, or accept that we might have to agree to disagree, or create space, or just acknowledge that in this particular point time cannot come on board, and then find solutions that are constructive, such as acceptance, but also protecting ourselves. We don't want to go down a road of destructiveness to ourselves and them. And we don't want to ignore and not address, because that's when resentment festers and grows. We have to acknowledge and communicate. And just acknowledge, I hear you. These are my reasons. Those are yours. And we're going to agree to disagree, or when I can think of a solution that accepts both of our needs, or finds a compromise, then we will engage in that. And sometimes we might have to accept that a little distance is necessary, even if it's just temporarily. So, notice the body, scan the body, notice the breath, bring the hands to the heart, allow compassion, love, healing. Compassion, love, healing, forgiveness, acceptance, allow the belly to rise and fall naturally. Everything's simple. When we name our emotions, recognize the feelings, recognize what's important, what our expectations are, what the behavior is communicating, and what it means about us. When we communicate how a behavior makes us feel and what we expect, and try to hear the other person and apply forgiveness to ourselves and others, and seeing the humanity that is in us and them, that no one is perfect, no one gets it right all of the time, but also acknowledging where we are and the choices we have that are within our control, and the behaviors we want to engage in and the person we want to be. Now we can still protect ourselves in a way that is constructive, and that we can move in the direction of finding solutions, compromises, and communicating our preferences instead of demands. Acknowledging all of our feelings. Then we can start bringing down that resentment and start healing. Sometimes we're healing from this experience, from accumulated experiences. Sometimes we need to heal from the past, from the hurts of the past, that this experience is awakening in us. I know it all takes time, so be gentle with ourselves and create a space to heal and recover. Connect to the heart and the belly. I forgive myself for not being perfect. I forgive the other person for not being perfect. choosing behaviors and boundaries and limits that protect myself physically, mentally, emotionally. We can live in a world of contradiction. I can feel hurt and I can communicate. I can feel hurt and I can find something constructive to deal with this hurt. I can see your perspective or hear your perspective. It doesn't mean I have to accept it, but I can hear it. And I can accept it as being your truth, your reality, and having my truth and my reality. And both are both valid and okay. And I can accept the uncertainty, the not having all the solution and knowing how to deal with it. And I can place that in a higher power, universe, God, Jesus. Please help me deal with this, the parts of this that I don't know how to, and help me go through, navigate through this in the best possible way. That brings peace, healing, growth. I hope that you find this helpful. It does take time. Don't be discouraged. Just one solution at a time, bit by bit. You start getting to know what is important to you, why it's important. And while we can communicate what is important, let's focus on the things that are within our control. What can I do? I can communicate. I've done my part. And then what others can do is on them. But I can do the part that I need to provide for my needs. If I need the other person to speak to me respectfully, so that I can feel respected or safe. If the other person is not coming on board, what can I do to feel respected and safe? I can remove myself into safety. I can create physical and emotional safety by distancing myself, by telling myself that it's more about them than it is about me, by creating healing, space, love, by connecting with others where I can have connection. And if you're dealing with a rejection, a perceived rejection or a real rejection, we can choose not to reject ourselves. Just because someone might engage in a behavior that makes us feel rejected, we can choose not to reject ourselves. And we can accept their behavior as it is what they need, it is what they prefer, it is what they know. But it doesn't have to mean that I am worthless or unloved, uncared. I can still choose to see my worth and value and lovability. Just because someone might reject us directly, indirectly, consciously, unconsciously, doesn't mean that we have to reject ourselves. We can just accept that's their choice. And while it might hurt, it might disappoint us, we can use compassion and love and acceptance of ourselves as a whole. I am good enough, lovable enough, smart enough, beautiful enough, intelligent enough. I am enough. I am worthy. I am valuable just because I exist. I deserve to feel good, and I deserve to be treated with respect. And I do what's within my control to be and feel respected. I can't control others, but I can choose my behaviors. I can make choices. Stretch. Give yourself a hug. Love, healing, and compassion. A very big hug. I hope you're feeling a little bit more seated and calmer, and see the power that is within you. You can't control others, but you can communicate. And if you choose not to communicate, you can do things that are healing. Instead of bringing yourself down to a pit of despair, anger, and destruction and revengeance that never brings anything good. Just acknowledge the hurts and pick the path of healing and growth and recovery, compassion and humanity. Because you deserve to feel good. You deserve to live the life that you want to live and be